Hey, so let's set the stage. You're playing UCN, having a grand old time. Suddenly, you mess up and die to Golden Freddy and... What the hell was that? Ah, jump scares. If there's one thing you know about FNAF, it's the jump scares. I mean, they're practically a core game mechanic at this point. They're how you know you've messed up and are the peak of tension in the gameplay. Across the series, there have been... oh god, I don't even know, at least like 200 unique jump scares. Obviously, some are better than others, and today I want to go through every game and talk about what I consider the best and worst. Shoutouts to Kraken Guy, whose videos on this idea inspired me to make this one. Don't worry, our opinions differ quite a bit, so it'll be a unique experience even if you have seen his before. Anyway, starting with the first game, the worst here is pretty clear. Foxy's jump scare was so bad that there was actually a theory that he was a good guy and only accidentally kills you, just because it's that unthreatening. I don't know, I guess I like the way he runs down the hallway, but besides that, there's nothing good about this jump scare. The best is also pretty clear here. Golden Freddy is iconic for a reason. First off, he's the only animatronic with a unique jump scare scream in the first game. Instead of... we get... which is substantially better. Sure, it's just the main one pitched down, but it fits his character so well. Additionally, the lead up to the jump scare is really cool. The way he appears in his office and just sits there for a few seconds is really creepy. Also, the way it crashes your game is really cool and weird your first time seeing it. Some people may argue that this is just a PNG and thus should be the worst, but despite that, it's still really great. Just know, I won't be as lenient with PNGs going forward, as you'll soon see. For example, our worst of FNAF 2. Hello, old friend. Yes, Golden Freddy went from the best of one to the worst of two. What a fall from grace. I just think this looks stupid. It's just his disembodied head slowly sliding towards you. It looks dumb. He also doesn't have a unique jump scare scream, which is disappointing to say the least. FNAF 2 has some great jump scares, as we'll see, but it also has some really dumb ones, and this is one of them. To show you what I mean though, our best... I mean, come on. This is the FNAF jump scare. It's become a bit of a meme, and for good reason. It's iconic. It's what I think of first when I think of FNAF jump scare, and it's easily the best of FNAF 2. I also want to give a shout out to the jump scare scream. I know I complained about it with Golden Freddy, but in my opinion, it's the most effective one in the series. Our least effective one, though... yep, hi FNAF 3. This game is known for its absolutely terrible jump scares from our main antagonist, Springtrap. What is this? He just leans in towards you. Genuinely have no clue what Scott was thinking with this one. It's absolutely awful. That's also in part to the jump scare scream, which I alluded to earlier. It's easily the worst in the main series. I mean, what is this? It's just not scary, I'm sorry. Even our best jump scare, Phantom Foxy, suffers from this. It's pretty good, I would honestly get scared by it, but the sound is so not scary that I don't feel anything towards it. Let's just move on from our least scary game to our most scary game, which it only gets because it cheated. I honestly don't really like the jump scares in this game. They all stop way too early, and they're only scary because the game forces you to turn your volume up really high to hear the breathing. The worst here is between two, Nightmare and Nightmare On. They're both unique in that they're just a still image. While cool, they're not scary, meaning one of these has to be the worst. Of the two, I pick Nightmare On. Nightmare looks cooler, and even though I love Nightmare On's design, I have to admit it looks a bit silly in certain settings, and this is one of them. The best here was pretty hard to choose. They're all just pretty decent, with none that stands out as the obvious best. Of them though, I like Nightmare Freddy's the most. The way he lifts you off the bed is really intimidating, and... well, really, that's kind of it. Like I said, these are all just decent and nothing more. Luckily, our next game picks up with Sister Location. This game's jump scares are really something special, or at least the main game. Unfortunately, this game got a custom night update, and all the jump scares there are garbage. The worst has to be Yendo. Not only does it just look dumb, but because of his mechanic, you'll always see it on a dark screen, making it look even worse. Luckily, the main game still exists, and its are still fantastic. The best one has to be Funtime Foxy. This one always manages to get me. I like that it uses the fact that you'll be playing on a black screen to its advantage, and has him appear from the darkness. Her scream is also one of the best in the series. I love it. Overall, incredible jump scare. Seriously, what happened with the custom night? Moving on to FNAF 6. Uh-oh. So this game has a bit of a problem. All of its jump scares are mid as hell. Literally, they're just sliding PNGs. Even the salvage minigames, which are admittedly better, still suck completely. And I, for the life of me, cannot choose a favorite or least favorite. Seriously, I feel completely negative on all of these and nothing more or less. So we're doing something different this time. Instead of ranking the jump scares themselves, we're gonna rank the voice lines that play after them. Why? I don't know, man, I felt like it. It's my video, let me do what I want. Our obvious last place is Lefty, who only says... not terrible, but there's some steep competition. Up next is Circus Baby, who says a couple of things, but my favorite is probably...
did I catch you off guard?
Our second place, Molten Freddy, says a couple of different things too, my favorite probably being...
one big happy family.
For anyone wondering, I put Molten Freddy above Scrap Baby because he's voiced by Kellen Goff, who I love with every fiber of my being. But even I have to give first to Afton, and it's mostly because of one voice line. You know it, you love it, it's...
I always come back.
Absolute classic. It was so good that it basically became William Afton's catchphrase moving forward. Overall, well, I mean, I barely even mentioned the jump scares. Like I said, they're pretty terrible in this entry, but hopefully they pick back up with our next game, UCN. They did not pick back up. Okay, so because UCN has like a bajillion characters, Scott didn't have the time or resources or something to make decent jump scares, so he just didn't bother. Pretty much every single one of these is garbage, and the worst offender has to be Golden Freddy, like I alluded to in the intro. Man, that's the second time Golden Freddy has been in last. How unfortunate. First off, because he's withered Golden Freddy and not actual Golden Freddy, they made his jump scare noise the one from FNAF 2. Which, don't get me wrong, is a good sound, but it still isn't unique. And honestly, for such an important character, I would have just preferred if they kept his FNAF 1 design and had his original scream from FNAF 1. I'll take that. Additionally, what the hell is this? It's just a PNG that doesn't even cover most of the screen. In the original FNAF, Golden Freddy took over pretty much the entire screen, while here there's a ton of dead space. It looks so bad. It's also a jump scare that you are well prepared for, since if you're dying to Golden Freddy in this game, you probably know you've messed up. Honestly though, I really could have gone with a ton of jump scares here. I was really close to giving it to the puppet, but at least that one vaguely moves. This is just a still image and isn't even a scary one. Moving on to the best. Uh-oh. Genuinely, none of these are good. Not a single one. I got it! I'll just say Mr. Hippo is the best jump scare, since it's what makes way to his hilarious minute-long death speeches. You may say that the voice lines don't count as the jump scare, and thus shouldn't win, but first off, what did I literally just do last game? And second off, I say please let me have this, there's literally nothing else for UCN. Let's just move on before I get any sadder than I already am. Help Wanted is in an interesting place when it comes to jump scares. Because it's a VR game, it means that pretty much every jump scare will be scary since it's right in your face. This means that they barely even had to try, and for the most part, they really didn't. This can be seen easiest in flat mode, which is what I'll be using for footage. Once you switch to flat mode, it's easy to see just how underwhelming and lame all these jump scares actually are. Honestly, none really stands out to me as being the worst, but if I had to pick, I would go with Plush Baby. They just kinda wiggle in front of you, and their scream isn't scary in the slightest. The best though, this one was easy, because this game is actually home to the jump scare that scared me the most. Just ever. Sometimes when playing on an easy stage, when you open the present at the end, there's a chance you'll get a plush trap jump scare instead. That's really it, it's just a funny little Easter egg meant to catch you off guard. Well, apparently it caught me really off guard, because I got so startled by it that I stumbled backwards and knocked into my brother's dresser, knocking down and subsequently breaking a Lego set. Yeah, this jump scare got me so good that it had real world consequences. After that, there's no way I couldn't put it at first. But yeah, with that exception, I can say that none of these have really ever scared me. Now, is that my fault for playing in flat mode when it's clearly intended for VR? Next game. Security Breach is actually surprisingly better than I thought. I mean, besides the lackluster jump scare scream, these are all really well animated, with one exception. Yep, get your jokes out of the way now, it's the white woman jump scare. This is not only funny in concept, but in execution as well. Unlike the other jump scares, this one's barely animated, and it just has to shake a little. I have a theory that this jump scare is so bad because they genuinely didn't think anyone would ever see it. I mean, Vanessa is only able to kill you during this one, like 5-second part of the game, and even then, she's not much of a threat. Maybe they thought that there was no point in putting effort into a jump scare that most aren't gonna see, which I mean, I guess, but still, that's weird, is it not? Anyway, for the best, I was originally gonna go with Glamrock Chica, mainly because I really like her unique jump scare scream. But then I remembered that the greatest FNAF character of all time, Mapbot, exists, and then it was no contest. I mean, this guy comes out of literally nowhere, jump scares you, then offers you a map that you're forced to accept. What a play. This is one of the few comedic jump scares in the series, and I think it pays off. Mapbot is easily an S-tier character despite only appearing in these jump scares. And this one ending, but like, who cares? Security Breach has some good ones, but also some mad disappointing ones, and some that are just whatever. Let's move on to the DLC, Ruin. Let me just say, Ruin might have the best jump scares in the series. Unlike other games, our protagonist doesn't just sit there and take it, she actually tries to fight back. I mean, she fails, but still, it's worth commending. The worst of these is Glamrock Chica's. It just looks off. She throws you to the ground and then kinda moves a little before slapping you. Okay. Also, the way her weird sack thing on her stomach wiggles around looks incredibly stupid. See what I mean though? Compared to our other worst entries, this one isn't nearly as bad, just a bit strange. The best is clearly this car, best jump scare in the series, no contest. No. The best is actually Ruined Freddy. The way he picks you up, a la Nightmare Freddy, and just shoves you in his stomach mouth is really intimidating. I also love how the present is there, like on regular Glamrock Freddy. That's a nice touch. It's always visible, but it's practically shoved in your face in this jump scare. Overall, there's not much to say with Ruin. It turns out it's much easier to complain than to praise something. Who would have thought? Let's move on to our final day of the game. I just said final day of the game. Oh my god. Let's move on to our final game of the day. Help Wanted 2. Unlike the first game, they didn't use VR as a crutch. While it was hard in the first game to find one that stood out as good, here it was hard to find one that stood out as bad. Luckily, I think I found a loophole. In the bowling minigame, there's a chance this big bunny mouse will slowly approach you. Once it reaches you, you're dead. So let's see. This thing can indeed kill you and slowly approaches you. That means that this is a jump scare and I will not hear any arguments otherwise, okay? This is the worst one, let me have this. The best was much easier, no loophole required. Scrap Babies is really sick, like just look at it. The way she stabs you with her stupid scissors hand is really amazing. Yeah, it's not super scary, but neither are most Help Wanted 2 jump scares, so we kinda have to go off coolness here, and this one definitely takes the cake for me. And that was the best and worst jump scare of every mainline FNAF game, and holy crap, while writing this, I just realized I forgot AR. Wow, I have no opinion on these whatsoever. AR is shut down, therefore it doesn't count towards the video. There, can we accept that, please? Anyway, since this video was a bit on the shorter side, and I don't think I'll ever get to talk about jump scares again, here's a little mini ranking of how good the overall jump scares are for each game. In first place, we have Ruin. They aren't especially scary, but they make up for it by being really cool. Second is Sister Location. All of them are great, and I would have had no problems giving it first, but unfortunately the custom night jump scares drag it down quite a bit. Next is Help Wanted 2. Really cool and often creative jump scares. Definitely much better than the first games. Fourth is FNAF 1. All really solid, but none that stand out as especially great. Next is FNAF 2's. A couple of bad ones, but it has the most effective jump scare scream, and some really great ones as well. Next up is Security Breach. A lot of solid ones, but also a lot of ones that just suck. Then we have FNAF 4. Similar to FNAF 1, where they're all okay, but none stand out as especially great. In 8th, we have Help Wanted 1. I'm gonna be real, I had no clue where to place this one. I have little to no thoughts on Help Wanted's jump scares. Now we reach our bottom 3, what I consider to be the least scary FNAF games. In 9th, we have FNAF 3. Most of these are okay, but the jump scare scream just ruins them all. I have never been scared by a FNAF 3 jump scare, and I doubt I ever will. 10th is UCN. Most of these are just a PNG wiggling on your screen, but it at least has a decent excuse, I guess. And last though, we have FNAF 6. Not only are they just PNGs sliding towards you, but I don't see any reason for them to be this way. Seriously, this reads like Scott just ran out of development time. And that was my mini jump scare ranking. Something worrying I've noticed is that they actually seem to get slightly worse as the series went on. Things like UCN, FNAF 6, and Help Wanted all have pretty mid jump scares. Yes, we had games like Security Breach, Ruin, and Help Wanted 2 make it to the top half of the list, but those mostly made it off of coolness rather than scariness. Whatever, I guess it doesn't matter. Most people aren't even scared by jump scares, so I guess this is an alright place to go. But yeah, that's really it. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was another useless topic, but I had a fun time going through and organizing my thoughts on these. I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you soon. Bye!